Eric stood in line at the security checkpoint. The Galactic Coalition headquarters rose above him like a crystal mountain. Ships from 100 different worlds landed and departed from platforms high overhead. He had been to many places in the galaxy, but this building still impressed him. The line moved slowly. Aliens of every shape and size waited their turn. A creature with tentacles floated past. Another being that looked like walking rocks shuffled forward. Eric kept his hands in his jacket pockets and watched the security process. He was here for a simple job. Sign some papers. Collect payment for escort duty he had completed last month. Nothing complicated. Nothing dangerous. Just business. Next, a voice called out. Eric stepped forward. The security station gleamed with clean metal and glowing panels. A tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms gestured toward the scanning arch. 2 other guards stood nearby, watching every visitor with careful eyes. Stand in the center, the blue alien said. Its voice came through a translator device that made every word sound flat. Remove any weapons or restricted items before entering. I'm not carrying anything, Eric said. He pulled his hands from his pockets to show they were empty. Proceed, the guard replied. Eric walked into the scanner. Blue light surrounded him from all sides. It felt warm against his skin. These scanners were standard across Coalition space. They checked for weapons, explosives, diseases, and 1,000 other threats. The process usually took a few seconds. The blue light flickered. It turned green for a moment, then yellow, then orange. Eric frowned. That wasn't normal. The light turned red. Alarms began to sound throughout the security area. The blue-skinned guard stepped back quickly. Other security officers rushed forward from stations along the walls. They carried energy weapons that hummed with power. Step out of the scanner, one guard shouted. This alien had gray skin and 6 eyes arranged in 2 rows. All 6 eyes focused on Eric with suspicion. Keep your hands where we can see them. Eric raised both hands slowly. He stepped out of the scanning arch with careful movements. A dozen weapons pointed at him now. Other visitors in line backed away quickly. Some ran toward the exits. There's been a mistake, Eric said calmly. He had been in worse situations than this. Much worse. Your scanner has an error. The scanner doesn't make errors, the 6-eyed guard said. It moved closer but kept its weapon raised. It detected extreme trauma markers throughout your body. Extensive scarring. Damage patterns consistent with high-level combat encounters. I have some old scars, Eric admitted. Nothing dangerous. Some? Another guard stepped forward. This one looked almost human except for green skin and an extra set of arms. The scanner registered trauma levels we've never seen before. Not in any database. What kind of weapons caused such damage? Eric sighed. This conversation happened sometimes when he went through advanced security. Most scanners weren't sensitive enough to detect everything. But Coalition headquarters had the best technology in the galaxy. Different weapons from different fights, he said. It was a long time ago. Remove your jacket, the 6-eyed guard commanded. Eric pulled off his jacket slowly. He wore a simple black shirt underneath with no sleeves. His arms were visible now. Scars covered them from shoulder to wrist. They ran in strange patterns that didn't match any normal injury. Some looked like burns but with edges too perfect to be from fire. Others appeared as if something had torn through his flesh and the wounds had healed incorrectly. The security officers stared. Several took steps backward. A few whispered to each other in languages Eric didn't understand. What happened to you? The blue-skinned guard asked quietly. War, Eric said. Old war. Nothing that concerns the Coalition. The scanner beeped loudly. Everyone turned to look at the arch. The red light had changed to purple. Purple wasn't part of the normal color sequence. The holographic display above the scanner flickered and new text appeared. It scrolled across the screen in the common galactic language. That's impossible, one guard whispered. The 6-eyed officer leaned closer to read the display. Its eyes widened. All 6 of them. It looked at Eric with an expression that might have been fear or respect. Eric couldn't tell which. The scanner is running level 9 analysis, the officer said. I've worked here for 20 years. I've never seen it go past level 4. What does that mean? Eric asked. It means the system detected something it doesn't understand, another guard explained. Something not in any medical database. Not in any weapons registry. The AI is trying to classify your injuries using advanced pattern recognition. The scanner beeped again. The purple light grew brighter. More text appeared on the display. The guards read it in silence. Then they looked at each other with confused expressions. This can't be right, the blue-skinned guard said. What does it say? Eric was curious now despite the situation. The six-eyed officer turned to face him fully. It lowered its weapon slightly. The scanner has a question for you. The AI wants to confirm something before it completes the security screening. What kind of question? The officer gestured toward the display. Read it yourself. Eric walked closer to the scanner. He looked up at the holographic text floating in the air. The words were simple and direct. They glowed with bright purple light that pulsed like a heartbeat. The question read, "Did you engage a deity-class entity in direct combat and survive the encounter?" Eric stared at the words for a long moment. The security area had gone completely silent. Every guard waited for his answer. Even the other visitors who hadn't fled were watching now from a safe distance. He had never seen a scanner ask such a question before. He didn't know they were even programmed to detect such things. But the AI was correct. It had analyzed his scars and reached the right conclusion. These weren't normal injuries from normal weapons used by normal soldiers. Eric looked at the six-eyed guard. Then at the others surrounding him. They wanted an answer. They needed one before they could let him proceed or decide what to do with him. Yes, Eric said simply. I did. The security guard stood frozen. Eric's answer hung in the air like smoke. The purple light from the scanner pulsed steadily, waiting for more information. You're claiming you fought a deity-class entity? The six-eyed guard asked. Its voice carried doubt mixed with something else. Maybe fear. Maybe curiosity. I'm not claiming anything, Eric said. Your scanner asked a question. I answered it. The blue-skinned guard moved to a control panel near the scanner. Its four hands worked quickly across the holographic interface. Data streams flowed across multiple screens. The AI is requesting additional information. It wants to classify the threat level and determine if you're dangerous to coalition personnel. I'm here to sign papers, Eric replied. Not to cause trouble. The system doesn't care about your intentions, another guard said. This one had scales instead of skin and eyes that glowed faintly yellow. It detected something in your body that matches theoretical models of deity-class weapon signatures. Those entities don't exist anymore. They haven't been seen in over 30 years. 43 years, Eric corrected. The last confirmed sighting was 43 years ago. The guards exchanged glances. The six-eyed officer stepped closer. You know the exact timeline. That's not common knowledge. Most people don't even believe the old reports about such beings. Eric rolled his shoulders. The movement caused the scars on his arms to shift and catch the light. Some of them seemed to shimmer with colors that shouldn't exist. Colors the eye couldn't quite focus on properly. I know the timeline because I was there, he said. More security personnel arrived. A whole squad of them, wearing heavier armor and carrying bigger weapons. They formed a loose circle around Eric but didn't point their guns at him. Not yet. They just watched and waited. A new figure pushed through the crowd. This alien was shorter than the others, with smooth gray skin and large black eyes. It wore a uniform with symbols that marked it as a senior officer. The other guards stepped aside to let it pass. I'm Commander Nash, the alien said. Its translator gave the voice a female quality. Explain what you mean by being there. The Void Wars, Eric said. I fought in them. Nash's large eyes blinked slowly. The Void Wars are classified historical events. Very few records exist. Even fewer survivors. Most species lost entire fleets trying to evacuate their populations when those things appeared. Most species ran, Eric agreed. Humans didn't. The scanner beeped 3 times in rapid succession. New text appeared on the display. Commander Nash read it quickly. Her expression shifted from doubt to shock. The AI has cross-referenced your biometric data with archived military records, Nash said slowly. It found a partial match. A human mercenary unit that operated in the Threshold sector during the conflict period. The records are heavily corrupted but your genetic markers appear in several battle reports. I didn't know anyone kept records, Eric said. Fragments only. Most data from that time was destroyed or lost. Nash moved closer, studying Eric's face. The reports mention humans engaging entities that other species classified as gods or demons. Beings that could bend reality itself. The architects, some called them. Eric nodded. That's what we called them too. Seemed like a better name than gods. Gods are supposed to care about mortals. These things didn't care about anything. One of the guards made a sound like a gasp. Another lowered its weapon completely. Commander Nash raised a hand for silence. Describe the architects, she commanded. Eric thought back to battles he had tried to forget. Images flashed through his mind. Darkness that moved like liquid. Shapes that hurt to look at. Sounds that made reality crack. They were big, he started. Not physically big necessarily. They existed in more dimensions than we could see. When they moved through normal space, they left tears in reality. Those tears glowed with light that burned worse than any fire. The scars on your arms, Nash said. They came from direct exposure? Yes. When an architect attacked, its weapons didn't just cut flesh. They cut through everything. Space, time, matter, energy. All of it at once. The wounds they caused existed in multiple dimensions. That's why they never healed properly. Part of each scar is still stuck outside normal reality. The scanner pulsed brighter. More text scrolled across the display. The AI was processing everything Eric said, comparing it to theoretical models and ancient fragments of data. How did humans fight such entities? A guard asked. The question came out quiet, almost afraid. Carefully, Eric said. And with a lot of losses. We lost thousands of soldiers in the first encounters. The architects could destroy ships with a thought. They turned entire asteroids into dust just by looking at them. Our weapons did nothing at first. But you survived, Commander Nash observed. More than survived. You're standing here decades later. That means humans found a way to fight back. Eric looked down at his scarred arms. Each mark represented a moment of pain. A moment of learning. A moment of adaptation. We studied them while we fought them, he explained. Every attack taught us something new. Every soldier who died gave us data. Humans are good at learning from mistakes. We're even better at being stubborn. Stubborn? Nash repeated the word as if testing its meaning. We refused to run. Every other species evacuated their territories and hoped the architects would leave eventually. Humans decided to make them leave. We analyzed their attack patterns. We discovered they manipulated fundamental forces of the universe. So we built weapons that disrupted those manipulations. The six-eyed guard shook its head in disbelief. You're saying humans developed technology to counter reality-bending powers? In the middle of a war. We didn't have a choice, Eric said simply. Run or adapt. We chose adaptation. Commander Nash studied the scanner display for a long moment. The purple light had started to fade, shifting back toward blue. The AI was completing its analysis. The scanner is updating its database, Nash announced. It's creating a new classification category specifically for your injury patterns. This information will be shared across all coalition security networks. Will I be arrested? Eric asked. Arrested? Nash looked surprised by the question. No. You're being flagged as a historical combatant. A survivor of an extinction-level conflict. The scanner is marking you as potentially valuable for military consultation. The blue light returned to normal. The alarm stopped. The scanner beeped once more and displayed a simple message in green text. Security screening complete. Threat level, minimal. Historical significance, maximum. Clearance granted. The guards lowered their weapons completely. They stepped back, creating a clear path through the checkpoint. But they didn't stop staring at Eric. At his scars. At the living proof that humans had fought gods and survived to tell about it. Eric collected his jacket from the security station. Commander Nash watched him put it on, covering the scars that had caused so much alarm. The other guards maintained their distance but continued to stare with expressions of wonder and fear. You're free to proceed to your appointment, Nash said. However, I've sent a priority alert to the Administrative Council. They may want to speak with you. I just need to sign some papers, Eric replied. Then I'm leaving. I don't think it will be that simple anymore, Nash said quietly. She was right. Before Eric could take 10 steps from the security checkpoint, a group of officials rushed into the lobby. They wore elaborate robes marking them as representatives from different worlds. A tall alien with silver skin led the group. Behind him came a floating creature surrounded by a glowing energy field. Others followed, all moving with urgent purpose. Stop him, the silver-skinned alien called out. We need to speak with the human. Eric sighed and stopped walking. He turned to face the approaching group. More officials emerged from elevators and side corridors. Word had spread fast through the building. Within minutes, dozens of aliens had gathered in the lobby, forming a crowd around him. Is it true? The silver alien asked breathlessly. Did you really fight the architects? Yes, Eric answered simply. A wave of shocked whispers rippled through the crowd. Some aliens stepped back. Others pressed forward, trying to get a closer look. The floating creature drifted down until it hovered at Eric's eye level. Impossible, the creature said. Its voice sounded like wind chimes. No biological being can survive direct combat with deity-class entities. The energy levels alone should have disintegrated you at the molecular level. Yet here I am, Eric said. Show us the proof, another official demanded. This one had green fur and multiple tails that swayed behind it. Anyone can claim to be a war survivor. Eric pulled off his jacket again. He rolled up the sleeves of his shirt to expose both arms fully. The scars caught the light from overhead fixtures. Some of them reflected the light strangely, as if the surface of his skin was made of broken glass. The crowd went silent. Several officials moved closer to examine the scars. The floating creature extended a tendril of energy toward Eric's arm but stopped before making contact. "May I scan these?" it asked. "Go ahead," Eric said. The energy tendril touched his forearm lightly. Immediately, the creature jerked back with a sound like a bell cracking. Its glow flickered and dimmed. "Impossible," it said again, but this time the word came out as a whisper. "These wounds exist in 7 dimensions simultaneously. I can detect the scar tissue in our normal space, but there are components extending into realms my sensors can't fully access. That's what happens when an architect cuts you," Eric explained. "Their weapons don't exist entirely in our reality. When they strike, they create wounds that bridge multiple planes of existence. Medical technology can heal the parts that exist in normal space. But the rest?" He shrugged. "The rest stays broken forever." A small alien with large ears pushed through the crowd. It wore the symbols of a medical officer. "I've studied theoretical physics for 300 years. The energy required to create multidimensional wounds would be enough to destroy a planet. How did you survive the initial trauma?" "Human biology is tougher than most species realize," Eric said. "We evolved on a death world. High gravity, extreme weather, dangerous predators. Our bodies learned to handle serious damage. When the architects attacked, we didn't die as easily as other species." "But toughness alone can't explain this," the medical officer insisted. "The pain from such wounds should drive any mind insane. The constant presence of reality distortions in your flesh should make normal life impossible." Eric's expression grew distant. "It wasn't easy at first. The pain never stops completely. You learn to live with it. You adapt. That's what humans do best. We adapt." The silver-skinned official raised his hands for silence. The crowd quieted down, though everyone continued to stare at Eric with expressions ranging from awe to terror. "I am Counselor Dern," the silver alien announced. "I served in the evacuation fleets during the Void Wars. My people lost 17 colony worlds before we could escape the affected sectors. We fled because fighting was considered suicide. Yet you claim humans fought the architects directly?" "We didn't just fight them," Eric said. "We drove them back." More shocked whispers spread through the crowd. Counselor Dern's face showed disbelief. "Every species that tried to engage the architects was annihilated," Dern said. "The Kelvin Empire sent their entire battle fleet. It was destroyed in 7 minutes. The Hive Collective deployed their best warriors. None survived. How could humans, a relatively young species, succeed where ancient civilizations failed?" Eric looked at the faces surrounding him. They all wanted to understand. They needed to know how humans had accomplished the impossible. "Other species treated the architects like gods," Eric began. "They saw these beings bend reality and decided they couldn't be beaten. So they ran. They evacuated. They abandoned entire sectors of space and hoped the architects would eventually leave. A logical strategy for survival," the medical officer said. "Maybe," Eric agreed. "But humans didn't see gods. We saw enemies. Powerful enemies, yes. Dangerous enemies that killed thousands of us. But still just enemies. Things that could be studied. Things that could be fought." "You're saying humans refused to accept the logical conclusion?" the floating creature asked. "We refused to give up our territory without a fight," Eric corrected. "When the architects appeared in human space, our leaders made a decision. Stand and fight or lose everything. We chose to fight." Counselor Dern shook his head slowly. "Bravery alone doesn't defeat reality-bending powers." "You're right," Eric said. "We needed more than bravery. We needed information. So while we fought, we studied. Every attack the architects made, we recorded. Every soldier who died, their final data was transmitted back to research stations. We lost entire ships, but we learned from each loss." "What did you learn?" the medical officer asked. "That the architects weren't gods. They were beings using advanced physics we didn't understand yet. They manipulated fundamental forces of the universe. Gravity, time, space, energy. But manipulation means there are rules. Rules can be understood. And once you understand the rules, you can find ways to break them. The crowd pressed closer. Every official wanted to hear more. Commander Nash had appeared at the edge of the group, listening intently. We developed weapons that created localized disruptions in space-time, Eric continued. Nothing as powerful as what the architects could do. But enough to interfere with their abilities. We couldn't fight them directly in single combat. But we could slow them down. Confuse them. Make them vulnerable to conventional weapons. You weaponized physics itself, the floating creature said with something like admiration in its chiming voice. We did what we had to do, Eric said. And it worked. Slowly, over years of fighting, we pushed the architects back. They retreated from human space. Eventually, they disappeared completely from known regions of the galaxy. The crowd around Eric continued to grow. More officials arrived every minute, pushing into the lobby until the space became packed with bodies. Security guards tried to maintain order, but even they seemed fascinated by what Eric was saying. Counselor Dern raised his hands again for silence. This conversation needs to happen in a more appropriate setting. The full Galactic Council should hear this testimony. I'm not here to give testimony, Eric said. I have an appointment. Your appointment can wait, Dern replied firmly. This is a matter of galactic security. Please follow me to the council chambers. Eric looked at Commander Nash. She nodded slightly. He could refuse, but that would cause more problems. Better to answer their questions and be done with it. Fine, he said. But I'm not staying long. Counselor Dern led the way through the building. The crowd of officials followed behind Eric like a procession. They took an elevator that climbed dozens of floors. The doors opened into a massive circular chamber with seats arranged in rising tiers around a central platform. Wait here, Dern instructed. He gestured to the platform. The council will convene shortly. Eric stood in the center of the platform while aliens filled the seats around him. The chamber had space for hundreds and it was filling rapidly. Representatives from across the galaxy took their positions. Some he recognized from news broadcasts. Others were completely unfamiliar species he had never encountered. A deep tone sounded through the chamber. The conversation stopped. All eyes turned to a raised section where the senior council members sat. There were 12 of them, each representing a major faction within the coalition. Counselor Dern took his seat among them. Next to him sat an ancient alien that looked like a tree with eyes. On his other side was a being made of crystalline structures that reflected light in rainbow patterns. This emergency session is now in order, the tree-like alien announced. Its voice was deep and slow. We are here to discuss a matter of urgent importance. Counselor Dern, please explain. Dern stood. 3 days ago, our long-range detection network picked up unusual energy signatures in the Outer Rim territories. Analysis of these signatures matches historical data from the Void Wars. The architects may have returned. The chamber erupted in noise. Officials shouted questions and concerns. Some stood from their seats. Others made sounds of distress in languages Eric couldn't understand. Silence, the tree-like alien commanded. The chamber quieted. We do not know if the architects have truly returned. The signatures could be residual energy from old battlefields. However, we must prepare for all possibilities. That's why we need information, Dern said. He pointed at Eric. This human fought the architects directly. He survived their attacks and helped drive them away. His knowledge could be invaluable. All eyes in the chamber focused on Eric. He felt the weight of their stares. Hundreds of species, all waiting to hear what he had to say. The crystalline council member spoke next. Its voice sounded like glass chimes. Human, state your name and rank for the record. Eric. No rank. I'm a freelance contractor now. What was your rank during the Void Wars? Sergeant. I led a strike team. Describe the tactics your species used against the architects. The crystalline being commanded. Eric took a breath. He hadn't talked about this in detail for decades. Most people who asked got simple answers. But these officials needed the truth. If the architects were really returning, the galaxy needed to understand what they were facing. First, you need to understand how humans think about enemies, Eric began. Most species see something powerful and decide whether they can win. If they can't win, they retreat. Humans don't work that way. We see something powerful and we ask how we can make it less powerful. A subtle but important distinction, the tree-like alien observed. When the architects appeared, they destroyed everything we threw at them. Our ships, our weapons, our defenses. Nothing worked. Other species would have evacuated at that point. But humans got angry. We decided that if our current weapons didn't work, we needed better weapons. But research and development takes years, another council member said. This one looked like a floating jellyfish. How did you survive long enough to develop new technology? We fought anyway, Eric said simply. We used conventional weapons even though they barely hurt the architects. We harassed them. We slowed them down. We made them work for every inch of space they took. And while we fought, we studied. Studied how? The crystalline being asked. Every encounter generated data. When an architect attacked a ship, that ship transmitted sensor readings before it was destroyed. When an architect used its reality-bending powers, we measured the energy signatures. When our soldiers died fighting them, their equipment recorded everything. We collected thousands of hours of combat data. Eric walked across the platform as he spoke. The movement helped him think. It also helped him avoid looking directly at the hundreds of faces watching him. Our scientists analyzed the data while the war continued. They discovered that the architects didn't break the laws of physics. They used laws that we didn't understand yet. Advanced manipulation of quantum fields. Localized alterations of spacetime. Energy forms that existed between dimensions. But understanding something doesn't mean you can counter it, Dern pointed out. True, Eric agreed. But understanding is the first step. Once we knew how the architects operated, we could predict their attacks. We learned to recognize the energy buildup before they struck. That gave us a few seconds of warning. Not much, but enough to improve our survival rates. A few seconds doesn't seem significant, the Jellyfish Council member said. It was everything, Eric replied. Those few seconds let us dodge attacks that would have killed us. They let us evacuate crews before ships were destroyed. They bought us time to develop countermeasures. What kind of countermeasures? The tree-like alien asked. We couldn't match the architect's power. But we could disrupt it. We built devices that created interference in quantum fields. When an architect tried to bend reality in an area with active interference, their abilities became unstable, less effective. It didn't stop them, but it weakened them enough that conventional weapons could cause damage. The chamber was completely silent now. Every official listened intently. We also learned their patterns, Eric continued. The architects were powerful, but they weren't creative. They used the same attack sequences repeatedly. Once we recognized those patterns, we could predict their movements, set traps, force them into positions where our interference devices were strongest. You turned their power against them, the crystalline being said. In a way, yes. We made them fight on our terms instead of theirs. It took years. We lost millions of people, hundreds of ships, dozens of stations. But gradually we pushed them back. The architects realized that humans wouldn't stop. We would keep fighting, keep adapting, keep learning. Eventually they decided it wasn't worth the effort and they left. Counselor Dern leaned forward in his seat. If they've returned, can humans fight them again? Eric met his gaze. If we have to, yes. But I hope it doesn't come to that. The council chamber remained silent for a long moment after Eric finished speaking. The officials processed what they had heard. Some looked hopeful. Others appeared terrified. A few seemed skeptical, as if they couldn't believe humans had accomplished such things. The tree-like alien spoke first. Its ancient voice carried weight that demanded attention. The information you have shared is valuable beyond measure. If the architects have truly returned, the galaxy needs someone with your experience and knowledge. I've told you what I know, Eric said. That's all I can offer. We need more than information, Counselor Dern said. He stood from his seat and descended the steps to the platform. We need leadership. Someone who has fought these entities before. Someone who knows how to beat them. Eric shook his head. I'm not a leader anymore. I run escort missions for cargo ships. I sign contracts and collect payments. That's my life now. Your life could be so much more, the Crystalline Council member said. Its voice chimed with urgency. We are prepared to offer you command of a defensive fleet. Full authority over military operations in the affected sectors. Resources beyond anything you can imagine. I don't want resources, Eric replied. I don't want command. I'm done fighting wars. Even wars against gods? Dern asked. Especially those wars, Eric said quietly. He touched one of his arms where scars lay hidden beneath his jacket. I've paid my price already. Every day I wake up with pain that can't be healed. Every night I dream about soldiers who died under my command. I earned my retirement. The Jellyfish Council member floated down from its seat. It drifted closer to Eric, its translucent body pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. We understand what we're asking. But consider the millions of lives at stake. Billions across the galaxy who have no experience with such threats. Then train them, Eric said. Teach your forces what humans learned. Share the data. Build the interference devices. Prepare your fleets. It won't be enough, Dern insisted. Reading about tactics is different from applying them in combat. Your people had decades of experience fighting the architects. No one else has that knowledge. Eric looked around the chamber. Hundreds of faces watched him with desperate hope. They wanted him to be their savior. Their champion against an enemy they couldn't comprehend. But he had been a champion before. He knew the cost. I can't lead your fleets, he said firmly. But I can teach your commanders. The tree-like alien leaned forward with interest. Explain. Give me access to your military academies. Your training facilities. I'll share everything I know about fighting the architects. Their patterns, their weaknesses, the tactics that work. I'll teach your officers how humans think about impossible enemies. How we adapt under pressure. How we turn disadvantages into advantages. A teacher instead of a warrior, the crystalline being mused. It's not what we hoped for, but it has merit. It's what I'm offering, Eric said. Take it or leave it. Counselor Dern exchanged glances with the other senior council members. They communicated through subtle gestures and expressions Eric couldn't fully read. Finally, Dern nodded. We accept your terms. You will be granted instructor status at our primary military academy. Full access to all training facilities and resources. You will develop curriculum based on human combat philosophy and teach it to officers from across the coalition. How long will this take? Eric asked. As long as necessary. Months at least. Perhaps years if the threat proves real. Eric considered this. Years of teaching meant years of staying in one place. Years of reliving old battles through the lessons he would share. It wasn't the quiet retirement he had planned. But it was better than leading soldiers into combat again. I'll do it, he said. On one condition. Name it, Dern replied. When this is over, when your forces are trained and the threat is dealt with, I walk away. No more requests. No more emergencies that need the old soldier. I get my retirement. Agreed. Agreed, Dern said. The other council members nodded their acceptance. The tree-like alien stood slowly. Its branches creaked with age. This session is concluded. Counselor Dern will handle the administrative details. The coalition thanks you for your service, Eric of humanity. The officials began to file out of the chamber. Some stopped to look at Eric as they passed. A few offered words of thanks or respect. Others simply stared as if trying to memorize the face of someone who had fought gods. Eric waited until most of the crowd had dispersed. Commander Nash appeared at the edge of the platform. She had watched the entire proceedings from a doorway. That was quite a speech, she said. It was the truth, Eric replied. Nothing more. The security system recorded everything. Your testimony will be distributed across the coalition network. Every species will know that humans fought the architects and won. Will that help or hurt? Nash smiled slightly. Both probably. Some species will respect humans more. Others will fear you. Fear can be useful sometimes. They walked together toward the exit. Eric was tired. The day had gone nothing like he had planned. Instead of signing papers and leaving, he had revealed secrets he had kept buried for decades. Now those secrets would spread across the galaxy. They passed through the security checkpoint on their way out. The scanner that had started everything stood silent now. But as Eric walked past it, the device activated on its own. Purple light flickered briefly. Text appeared on the holographic display. Commander Nash stopped to read it. Her expression shifted to something between amusement and awe. What does it say? Eric asked. The scanner has updated your classification in the system, Nash explained. You're no longer listed as a standard visitor or even as a historical combatant. Then what am I listed as? Nash turned the display so Eric could see it. The text glowed with steady purple light. It was just one word, but that word carried immense weight. The classification read, Godslayer. Eric stared at the word for a moment. Then he laughed. It was a short, bitter sound. I didn't kill any gods. I just fought them and survived. To most of the galaxy that's the same thing, Nash said. Survival against impossible odds is its own kind of victory. It doesn't feel like victory, Eric said quietly. It feels like carrying scars that never stop hurting. Maybe that's what makes you qualified to teach others. You know the real cost of fighting such enemies. You won't send students into battle with false confidence or empty promises. They reached the main entrance. Outside, the sun was setting. Ships continued to land and depart from platforms overhead. The galaxy moved on, indifferent to the drama that had unfolded inside the building. Eric pulled his jacket tighter. The scars on his arms throbbed with familiar pain. They always hurt more when he talked about the war. As if the wounds remembered the battles that created them. "When do I start teaching?" he asked. "Tomorrow if you're ready. The academy will prepare facilities and gather the first group of students." "I'm not ready," Eric admitted. "But I'll do it anyway. That's what humans do. We face things we're not ready for and figure them out as we go." Commander Nash offered her hand. Eric shook it. Her grip was firm despite having only one hand instead of the four her species normally possessed. She had her own scars, he realized. Her own battles. "Good luck, Godslayer," she said. Eric walked out into the evening. Above him, stars began to appear in the darkening sky. Somewhere out there, the architects might be returning. Or maybe the energy signatures were nothing. Old echoes from ancient battles. Either way, the galaxy would be more prepared than before. Eric would make sure of that. He would teach a new generation how to face impossible enemies, how to adapt and survive, how to look at gods and see them as just another problem to solve. He was retired from fighting. But he could still teach others to fight. That would have to be enough.